Don Winters wanted to become a member of the congregation. And there were 2 other women and myself and Don that we knew about who were gay and lesbian. And they put together a statement to be read at a congregational meeting, asking the congregation, as you recall, to actually make a public stand. A lot of people had shown up, and we were in the historic meeting house in the back room.
Yeah.
And I just basically started the statement saying the other gay and lesbian folks that attend at Germantown have asked me to read this on behalf of us. I remember one particular member really saying, we need to let conference know that this is a stand that we are taking. The congregation came out supportive of the statement and agreed that Don could be an openly gay member of the congregation.
I remember that as being a very profound kind of feeling to me, for the congregation to join with us, to join us in the margins.
When we were getting thrown out, one of the stories that got out there was about Germantown being an accepting place for a young man that the church had just turned its back on. And that was really my experience to a large extent. Is Germantown, like everybody else, was probably scared, but that's a test for me. That was a test of inclusiveness, and people tried to be loving in the midst of that as well.
Something like 3 years before we were kicked out, we were put on probation for 2 years when we were a second-class congregation, and the rest of the churches in the conference were instructed to be in dialogue with us.
And it was during that time that we were confronted and challenged to do something. First, why don't we just throw our identified gay and lesbian members out of the congregation and become pure again? Because after all, we are sort of the mother church, the church that fostered Mennonite belief in this North American continent. We all felt threatened. We all felt compelled to try to do something, and yet we had our principles.
No matter how much they said that we needed dialogue and they wanted dialogue, that ultimately this was not going to be a process of integrity.
They could never get it to a full vote at conference sessions, so then they finally resorted to a mail-in vote to expel Germantown from Franconia Conference. When Franconia came and announced, Ken stood up and made her walk him out and cast him out. He said, if you're going to cast us out of the church, we want you to symbolically do this.
One of the things that I was aware of is that if I did not, the experience of being separated, of being cast out, because that's what I was feeling like, that I'm being cast out, and I really realized that if I did not do something, that I would carry this in ways it would mess me up spiritually. And so that's when I requested to be, literally, to have them put action to the words that they were telling us, because it was that important. They needed to know.
I remember when we found out. I preached that Sunday. And I remember being really aware that this was a significant event, and it was an event that hurt. And that was very, very difficult for us. I was born and raised a Mennonite, and to have the body of believers that I considered family say, we don't want you as family anymore. It hurt.
When David got ordained, it was like, oh, it's just so beautiful. I just remember that wonderful feeling that to see him be ordained was a very moving experience for me, and I think for the whole congregation.
And it meant that some people got to relive again what we had been through previously with Franconia. And so I find it fascinating that people chose again to move forward.
There's so many new people here. There's so many new people, and I want to learn to know who they are. Who they are and making this congregation who it is at this time. I think there are some key times in our history where maybe we could have risked differently, or I as a lesbian would have wanted that. But the congregation is alive.
Don was HIV positive and eventually died from AIDS. We had a number of people, it seemed, that died over the years. Don left a memorial fund after his death, and it was for communion. So both the communion table that we use once a month and the communion set that we use is something directly from Don Winters.
So those were interesting times as we see them in retrospect, and times that tested our courage as a congregation. And I think the results today bear witness to the rightness of that position and the growth that has taken place here and elsewhere.
It's always funny to go out into the Mennonite world and tell people that I'm the pastor at Germantown, because they always have this look of, ooh, are you okay? How are you guys doing? And it is such a pleasure to be able to tell them that this congregation is alive and well and growing and full of kids, and because I think people expect, even 17 years out, that we're a sad, hopeless place, and it's just not that at all. There's joy here, and there is a real sense of love and the movement of the Spirit here, and it's always a real pleasure to share that with people.